what do we have? We really don't have any sound, so.
Good Spytek one, I think.
Yeah.
Unless you want to play these individual cuts.
Good afternoon, everybody. How we doing today? I have a massive head cold coming off my cruise, which kind of sucks, but people got it a lot tougher than I do today, so no big deal.
Max Crosby! Your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years. Open at the 35, racing to the 20, 10, touchdown Raiders! And now, the break.
Out of the gate, JT, here we go today. Oh, yes. I was up last night late as a tree in front of my house almost fell into my house. As I come here today, I got landscapers at my house because a big chunk of a big tree came off the big tree, a big limb right on my front lawn as the winds were howling last night on the mean streets of Summerlin. So that was interesting. I said, man, the people who got up this morning early to go to work and rolled past my house looked like it got hit by a hurricane or something. So been dealing with that all day today. I'm coming off the cruise. I finished my show last night on Sirius XM at 10 at night in my office. I stood up, Bobby, and I felt like I had sea legs still. That was interesting. I stood up. I was like, whoa, what's going on? The wind. Well, we are here today, the owners' meetings at the Breakers in West Palm, and there's a lot going on there because they're screwing with the rules again. Here we go. They're messing with the rules, and that's the focus of the monologue, brought to you by PTs. They fuel the monologue 5 to 7, midnight to 2, the best happy hour in town. By far, award-winning is PTs. Half-price drinks. So I always say that. Drink responsibly. Do what you do. But you know you're going to get the best deal in town with our long-time partner there at Golden Entertainment and PTs. So let's get into the rule changes again. And I just despise this. I really do. I don't, it's just not a boomer thing. Again, I just went on a cruise. I go out at more than 18-year-olds. So don't tell me I'm a boomer or anything like that. You sound like a clown. I'm not a boomer, okay? When I'm out with Gorilla dancing at 1 a.m. on a ship deck, I'm no boomer, okay? I don't like people messing with sports. That's one of my claim to fames, if I have any, is I am a guardian of sports. And it's not a boomer thing. It's not about any era. I'm sick and tired of changing the rules. What are we doing? Why are we changing the rules every year? Now the kickoff, if it goes in the end zone, starts at the 35? The 35-yard line is where we're going to start play? Not the 20 back in the day when Jim Brown played and Jerry Rice played and Dan Marino and Joe Montana played. Why does the league have to change so dramatically from the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s because it's 2025? What are we doing? The onside kick. We can't make it a secret anymore. We got to say, hey, coach, we're going to do an onside kick. You know what's coming. What are we doing? And some of the rule changes I have no problem with. If you want to sit around and say, okay, we're going to change overtime so everybody gets their hands on the ball, I can live with that. I'm not going to die on that hill. But it's a bigger topic. And I know I'm preaching. I sound very preachy here. But it's a massive topic that's affecting your life as a fan. They are changing every sport that you loved growing up. From NASCAR, they used to just go around the track until we had a winner. Now we have 3 stages. What? Why are we having 3 stages and stopping the race? You think Dale Earnhardt Jr. would have said, oh, stop the race after I have the lead after the first third and we'll start again and then stop the race again? They did that in NASCAR. I mean, they're changing everything. I kind of like the hockey rule, Bobby, in overtime. I think in overtime, I like the kind of, you go out there 3-on-3. I could live with that. But football, so the tush-push ban vote tabled by the NFL for more discussion. This drives me nuts because I despise the Eagles. I call them the dirty, stinking, green, drunk birds. I want the Eagles to lose every game they play. They come up with a play that no one can stop. So then everybody who's soft around the league says, we can't stop it, change the rule. Oh, my God, is this T-ball? Are we playing Little League coach pitch where one kid is like 5'6" and hitting home runs? So we got to get him out of the league because he's too good? That's what they do in slow pitch in Summerlin South Little League. What are we doing? Why can't we just leave sports alone? And when they do get it right, I give them credit. The pitch clock. Okay. I'm one of the guys that live in Vegas. We don't have a team here other than the Aviators. When I go to a ball game, I don't want to leave. I don't want it to end in 2 hours because I don't get a chance to go to a lot of MLB games anymore. I used to go to constant MLB games. So, we got to get the game under 2 hours. Why? Oh, because the video game 14-year-old boys and girls don't have an attention span after 2 hours and 10 minutes. So we're going to drastically change the game and put a ghost runner on second base. Yeah, they pulled that one off right in front of us. And now the NFL is trying to ban the tush push, which I think they should leave alone. And look, if they're going to ban it, they're going to have to ban it because of injury. Because I can see an injury happening with this. I can see Jason Kelsey, he's been retired now. This will be, 2 years retired. I hope he's healthy. I don't wish anybody to ever have an injury in life. But I could see the center in the tush push when they're 64 years old wearing a neck brace and they can't walk. If you want to ban it because of that, ban it because of that. But don't tell me you want to ban it, Green Bay Packers, because you can't stop it and the Eagles are going to Super Bowls. But the kickoff thing really got me going today. Last night, it wasn't a year ago, it was less than a year, we were in Costa Mesa. Eric Allen and I were sitting in the end zone in Costa Mesa, and I said, I want to really study this kickoff because I'm doing the play-by-play during the preseason as Jason Horowitz goes to TV. I want to be able to explain this on the broadcast. So we were so excited that Daniel Carlson's going to try to kick the ball perfectly into the landing zone. And then in the landing zone, if you can make one guy miss, you might be able to take it to the house. What a waste. It was a bunch of garbage for the league. There was no big plays. Raise your hand and beep your horn if you remember any big plays on kickoffs last year. No. Do you? I don't remember one. Did someone take it from the 15 to the 27 that I missed? So now the league is just kicking the ball out of the end zone like the old days. And they're saying they want more returns. So if you kick it in the end zone, we're going to bring it out to the 35-yard line. They should call this the Patrick Mahomes kickoff rule. Let's give Mahomes the ball at the 35-yard line and see how that works out. Tell me how that works out with Mahomes. The league loses their mind when Mahomes in 13 seconds can get the ball halfway down the field and win and go to a Super Bowl. Now we're going to give the ball to Mahomes at the 35. Good. Great move. The league is getting softer by the second. This is not Jack Tatum. I get it. This isn't Soul Patrol 1 and 2. I get it. But give me a break. I need some phone calls today or some tweets about what they're doing with this league and these rule changes. And are you getting sick and tired of it? You pay an enormous amount of money to go to these games. You pay ticket prices, concessions. This is national. This is not a Vegas topic. This is a national topic. And I'm sitting here going, what are we doing? Every year, we got to change the rules drastically. And when we got to figure out how to make the league that much more safer. I'm all for safety. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. This is NFL football, man. This ain't flag football. It's feeling like it's flag. They're taking the aggression out of the sport. Now, you might say, what is he talking about? This is going to help with more kick returns. No, it's not. The kick return is lame. It's the XFL kickoff rule where you start off in a phone booth, nothing happens. They should go back to the old standard kickoff where you kick the ball off from the 35-yard line. If you can get it to the end zone, you get it there. If you can't get it there, there's a good return. And if it goes into the end zone, you spot it at the 20. I would even agree to spot it at the 25, but the 35? Come on, man. The defenders in this league got to be losing their mind. And that's going to shorten drives, and it's going to affect gambling. It's going to have a big effect here. But I'm the boomer. I'm the guy who says, get off my lawn, right? I'm here to protect you as the fan. And when they continue to mess with this league with rule changes, I want to have a debate on it. So we'll see all this as it goes down at the NFL owners' meetings today and get your opinion here. When it comes to the tush push, quote, although there was no injury data to support a ban, NFL Chief Medical Officer Dr. Alan Sills did tell owners this week that the mechanics of the play could lead to injuries. Okay, we have no data that proves that. Right. So we have no data. So we're assuming it's gonna lead to injuries. Okay, The play has been so successful for the Eagles, who have scored 27 touchdowns and recorded 92 total first downs over the past 3 years. Wow. They scored 11 touchdowns on it with 32 first downs during their Super Bowl run in 2024. Here's what bothers me about them trying to get rid of this, and it was just tabled, so they're not getting rid of it just now. You know who could be great at this? Geno Smith. Why can't we be great at this in the Raider Nation? We got Jackson Powers Johnson. He reminds me of a young Jason Kelsey. This guy's a beast, right? We got Meredith, the guards that we have. We get new ones or not. Wouldn't it be great if the Raiders can run the tush-push and identically copy what Philadelphia is doing and we get a bunch of first downs? Before Geno got here, we really struggled on getting first downs, especially on short yardage. Oh, my God, don't get me going. But that's one of the things here that's got me really worked up today, because I just don't like every year there's rule changes. Why? Why are they touching the sports? And I believe it all has to do with television, the television window, keeping the game going faster, all the decisions that they're making in baseball. Baseball troubles me the most. I mentioned NASCAR. Most people don't understand NASCAR, so that went over their head. But when it comes to the NFL, just leave it alone. Every owners meeting, do we got to run through all these rule changes? Let's stop. Why don't we get all the rule changes done now and then leave it alone forever and go back to playing football? And that's what I wanted to focus on, 702-365-9200. I mean, because the people who don't care about this stuff, they really don't care as much as I do, and I'm a diehard fan. You're listening to an over-the-top lunatic diehard fan. If you want to listen to movie reviews and cheeseburger reviews and wing brackets over the Final Four, find someone else. I'm trying to fix the sports landscape and try to keep it with some legacy to the history of the game. I want to see the stats matter. I want to see Jerry Rice's numbers comparable to Justin Jefferson. I want to see Ashton Genty's numbers be comparable to whoever, Earl Campbell, Barry Sanders, if he turns out to be good and he comes here. I don't want the league to continue to change. So I'm on my soapbox today. You can tell I'm a little worked up, maybe because that branch almost took out my house last night, and that would have been a hell of a day to take off here. 702-365-9200 is the number. And again, I feel like I'm charging everybody up every day. The show started 12 minutes ago. Let's get the show going. I don't have 6 clappers in the background here. It's just me today, and I'm all worked up, and I am ready to roll. Now, John Spytek did an unbelievable interview in front of our media. He did 22 minutes. It's the best content that I've heard in a while. And all the insiders who were there, Deshaun, Vinny, everybody who asked questions, it was really good. I listened to it this morning on my phone, and I want to play it in 2 parts. Maybe we'll play 10 minutes today, 10 minutes tomorrow. But if you listen closely, you really can hear his philosophy on where this organization is going. I don't know his philosophy because I don't know him well. I've only heard great things. I think the world of Pete Carroll and his legacy and what he's done. And we know Tom Brady has got his hands in this in a good way to try to make the Raiders an elite team. But it seems to me that the direction, there's 2 things that I have that you'll hear from John Spytek a little bit later on in the show. 2 big things. First off, competition. When we are looking at the offensive line, it seems like, hold on, everybody, you don't have your position locked down. Oh, boy. I like that. Okay, I think Jackson Powers Johnson is the center for a decade. Not so fast, my friend. There are other people there that can play that position. So you'll hear in the conversation that this is an open competition on this offensive line. I think the only guy that really has his job to the point where we can pencil him in if healthy, and he should be, is Colton Miller. There's not going to be another left tackle that is competing with Colton. Competing with him in Pete Carroll's system, absolutely. Absolutely, there'll be someone there, but I doubt Colton Miller is going to lose his job to competition. Everybody else? I don't know. This is a different group, man. There's a different group of guys running this thing. They are going to make you compete, and they're going to make you watch film, and there's an eye in the sky, and you take a playoff, you don't look good, watch out. They'll put someone else in there. They do not care. They do not care. They want the best team available. That's point number 1. I like that. Point number 2 is very important also, because when you look at this team going forward, they're giving you a clue of the type of defense that they're trying to build. I've even seen some people on Twitter, on X, trying to compare this secondary to the Legion of Boom. LOB! Stop, give me a break. This is not the Legion of Boom. Okay, Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, the legends who played in Seattle. Now we have the blueprint on how to build the Legion of Boom with Pete Carroll. So Pete Carroll says, I want Jeremy Chin because he could be a part of the new Vegas Legion of Boom or a new name. I'm all for that. So they want bigger, more physical, hard-hitting players in the defense, in the secondary. The defensive line is set. Come on, man. I mean, how often do we got to go over this? This defensive line is loaded, and they're just going to add depth. They'll probably get someone else in the draft, but Adam Butler, Malcolm Kuntz, you look at Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins and Tyree Wilson. I mean, there's a lot of good players there that are going to be competing. And I think the defensive line is obviously the strength of this team, along with Brock Bowers at tight end. So I'm cool with the defensive line. They went out and got a linebacker from Pittsburgh that they're very comfortable with, that thinks that they can step in and play at a very high level. Okay, I'm good with that too. I think if you look at this, and I want to give credit to Tristan Kuhn, who does a nice job. He's kind of an enigma, man. We tried to get him on the radio. He's kind of whatever. So I like his content. He put together the Raiders' current projected lineup less than 22 hours ago. He had Geno at quarterback, Raheem Mostert at running back, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, Kyle Phillips as slot wide receiver, Brock Bowers, offensive line of Colton Miller, Jordan Meredith, Jackson Powers-Johnson at center, right guard, Alex Kappa or Dylan Parham, and then DJ Glaze. And then the defense, I just wanted to share with this because I agree with everything he tweeted. Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, Adam Butler, Malcolm Kuntz. Wow. That ain't trash, man. The radio host in Denver and in Charger land, they don't know these guys. They don't know who Malcolm Kuntz is, and they don't understand at all what Christian Wilkins can do because he didn't play last year much. Then how about this at linebacker? You blinked your eyes, and all of a sudden you woke up and you got Devin White and Landon Roberts. Well, Roberts is supposed to be the type of player that they want, similar to Spillane. Well, Spillane was really good, and this guy's going to have to prove a lot if he can do it. I'm a massive fan of Devin White. He struggled the last year or two. John Spytek admitted it in this scrum. You'll hear that, but that is a valued player that they went after, hoping to find lightning in a bottle with him. At a minimum, with all due respect to some of the linebackers who played there, including Robert Spillane, Devin White is the most decorated linebacker we've had in this building in a long time. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been an All-Pro. He's been there for everything. Okay? He's a really good player. Now, is he on the downside of his career? I don't know. I don't know what he looks like, but John Spytek, he knows him, and he has confidence with him. That is a very good and smart football player. He'll make more plays, big plays, than he'll be in blown coverage and getting exposed. Then we move on to the rest of the defense. Jacorian Bennett, Eric Stokes, Darnay Holmes at nickel, Isaiah Palomal at free, and Jeremy Chin at strong safety. That's not bad. I mean, it's not bad. I wouldn't call it elite, but they got a bunch of guys on one-year contracts and a couple of guys re-signed who are going to be here. Jacorian Bennett, to me, is really important because if he's going to be starting on this team, he's going to have the approval of John Spytek and Pete Carroll. And that means that he's showing some type of growth that we're not aware of because we're not at practice every day and we're not breaking down film at their level. So with all of this happening here, the Raiders still have an opportunity to get a number one wide receiver, a top wide receiver at number 6 overall, or a number one running back, which it looks like most insiders think they're going to get Ashton Genty if he's available. And then they're going to have a whole bunch of other draft picks who are going to be there. So as I've told you throughout this offseason, the Raiders need to nail the draft. Free agency is a bonus. A lot of guys took the money and run. As Steve Miller would say, go on, take the money and run. That would be Trevon Merrick and obviously Spillane. The second free agency started, those guys were like, how much? Really? Okay. I love being a Raider, but you're offering me that much, they're gone. And it seems like Pete Carroll and John Spytek and Patrick Graham realized who they wanted on that defense, who's going to be a little bit bigger, nastier, and play that thumper style that we learned to respect in Seattle. You talk to any Seattle fan, I have a few friends who are Seattle fans, they talk to you about the heyday of the Legion of Boom. Those guys weren't high draft picks, most of them. Those guys were developed. So Pete Carroll, the more bodies that he gets in the building who play defense, the more bodies. Because Antonio Pierce was a world-class linebacker. He won a Super Bowl. He knew how to coach. So did Marvin Lewis. They knew how to coach linebackers and defenses. Pete Carroll's next level in regards to the culture of competition and how to have these guys swinging for bigger hits and being better than beyond their ability. I don't trash the former coaches. I think they all put in a lot of hard work, and some had different strengths than others. But it's clear to say that Pete Carroll, when he took that picture at the owners' meeting with those other coaches, everybody knew Pete was sitting there. Pete Carroll's different. He beat everybody in that picture who's been coaching for more than 4 or 5 years. Pete's beat him multiple times. And Pete gets a lot of respect there. So for those who say Devin White is on the downside of his career, how do you know that? Maybe he comes to Vegas and all of a sudden he's getting better treatment, better practice. He's in a better scheme and he has a couple of good years. I mean, you don't know. You don't know. So Devin White's played in a lot bigger games than the Raiders have played in. I can tell you that. John Spytek brought in a linebacker who's played in a lot of bigger games than the Raiders have played in any time recently. So I think that is a good upgrade there. But as we're saying, we're focusing on rule changes today and just a big picture topic. How do you deal with handling these rule changes? Like when they come at you in waves with these rule changes, are you okay with it? Or do you just want to call a timeout and say, just stop? Yeah. Just come on, man. It's getting to the point where you're affecting my game too much. I'd like that overall big picture. Remember, I'm not narrowcasting, I'm broadcasting. I want to know how you think of the rule changes on a broad level. And the torpedo bat last night, Bobby, I did a whole show on the torpedo bat. Really? Ooh. Well, everybody kind of shut up when they found out that Aaron Judge doesn't use the torpedo bat, and he's hitting all these home runs. But everybody else was blaming the Yankees for trying to do some cheating. Now the torpedo bat is all over baseball. And if it gives you the hitters a mental advantage, see, steroids gave the hitters a physical advantage plus a mental advantage. Because when they're on steroids, when you're on the juice, you feel more confident. Yeah. You feel like you can be King Kong on top of looking like King Kong. The torpedo bat doesn't change the biceps of a baseball player. It doesn't change the energy of a baseball player. It just changes the sweet spot where you make contact. So that's taken over baseball. The A's played last night in Sacramento. I've said this. I got a lot of friends now, multiple friends that work for the A's. I respect the hell out of them. They're some of my great friends. This is not the flagship of the A's. It's not. There's not going to be A's talk here on my channel. Not my channel, on my YouTube. I'm talking about here because, no. They played last night. They wore their Ricky Henderson jerseys. I thought the ballpark looked gorgeous on TV. Had a bunch of friends there FaceTiming me in Sacramento, but we're not going to have an open forum because we are the flagship of the Raiders. And I'm sure there'll be opportunities to talk at different times on that topic. And then March Madness is here. We have the 4 top seeds remaining. I have Florida winning it all. My wife is winning our bracket contest on YouTube. My wife is winning it. She's unbelievable. She's smart, man. She's like a master's degree in education at Illinois. I got a 4th grade vocabulary. She's got a master's degree, and she's winning the Bricklayer Challenge. How about that? And then January, we have the Masters, which I love. I love the Masters. I mean, the Masters is coming. How excited are we for that? There's some yacht rock in town. You know, I love my yacht rock. And don't call me a boomer because I've seen 54 Rush concerts, so I love my progressive rock. Bobby, I didn't ask you. You went to Dead & Company. Yes. You didn't give me the review. I mean, it's a big deal for you. And you went to Sphere with a friend in town. Give me a review of Dead & Company.
It would take about 15, 20 minutes. I got to tell you, the building is fantastic. The sound quality was incredible. A couple of things I noticed. First of all, you can actually sit there and have a conversation with somebody next to you while the band is playing. Mm-hmm. Also, it doesn't get super dark in there like you would expect at a regular concert.
Good.
So I thought that was kind of cool. The band is up. The first set was good. Second set, they started to get into that drums and space. And it just started to drone on a little. But other than that, had a great time.
And John Mayer just rocked. Fantastic.
He did fine.
Good. All right. Well, good. That's good. We talk live music on this show all the time. So I got some opinions on Stephen A. versus LeBron. I'm ready to go today, man. My wife was telling me, get out of the house, go do the show. Can you start early? Can you start early today? No, I wait around all day. I wait around all day to find maybe 8 or 9 people that are going to rock on this show and bring the energy I do. That's all I care about for the next hour and 40 minutes. Find some energy to come at me with these big topics here. I like the Raiders roster right now, but I normally do. I normally like the Raiders roster off a bad season when they improve. You know, we've done a lot of Raiders seasons that are 500, 8 wins. You can't be 500 now with 17 games. But this is my 28th season with the teams. I've seen a lot of mediocre football. This roster is fascinating to me now because I understand. I'm getting to understand what they're doing from a distance. And then when we're in the building more and we're at training camp, I knew the Napa thing wasn't going to come together. Vinny and everybody's reporting Napa is not happening. We knew that for a while. I really would have liked to gone to Napa. That's not a hill I'm going to die on. I know where to stay in my lane. I'll broadcast from anywhere. But it looks like we'll be spending time in Henderson for camp in that beautiful facility, and that'll work out well. And maybe some surprises along the way. 702-365-9200 as we open up the show here. And there's a lot to get to. So the Spytek comments, we're going to play them in a chunk coming up here in a little bit. Snake Man in South Carolina. Thanks for calling the show.
Hey, what's going on, JT? A couple quick things. I meant to ask you maybe a year ago when you went to go see the Rush concert that Primus was covering. What did you think of Primus's covering of Rush?
I thought it was really good. Claypool does a nice job. He's got a deep history with Getty. He can play Rush as good as anybody else out there. From the drummer to the bass player, I was okay with it, but it wasn't Rush.
Oh, yeah, of course not. But, man, they're pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. This is probably one of the most unpredictable drafts that I can recall here. I mean, there's literally, these quarterbacks, other than Cam Ward, it's just going to be crazy at the top of this draft, maybe the first 6, 7 picks. But the sneaky need is not so sneaky anymore for the Raiders. Wide receiver, running back, but slot cornerback. They've got these long boundary guys. They don't have anybody but Darnay Holmes that I can think of that can man up on a speedy slot receiver. So I just kind of want to point that out because that seems like something they got to address.
Yeah, I think they believe, thanks for the call with Holmes, that they have someone there who can handle that role. It's crazy. The slot nickelback is really important in this league now. I get very frustrated with that position. I think if you should be an elite cornerback if you play in the NFL. You should be able to play outside corner on the left or right side or slot. Period. I don't think Nate Hobbs wasn't available at the end. Nate Hobbs was a good player, but he was so streaky. Like he'd have a good game and then he'd disappear for 2 or 3. Doesn't mean he's a bad guy. I never thought Nate Hobbs was coming back with this regime, not for a second. And he got rewarded and he got big money. But, the slot corner, I think, will happen when you get to the depth of the cornerback position. And Pete Carroll is working these corners out every day and then finds something. He catches something, a glimmer in his eye, and says, you jump in the slot. Let's see what you can do. The monologue brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka, my go-to vodka. Find cocktail recipes, videos, and more at titosvodka.com. Distilled and bottled by 5th Generation Inc., Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume. Savor responsibly. Tito's, proud partner of our show. Wow. Yeah, that flew by. That was 28 minutes of freaking hell. Like an AC/DC opening track. So I think we should take this Spytek and maybe play 10 minutes of it.
You want to do that right now?
Calls suck as usual. Everybody's freaking just intimidated to call me, I guess, today. So
You want to do that like right now?
have it ready. We'll see what happens. Have it ready. Yep.
Okay, we'll get to time-wise, we'll be back at
We don't have to play the whole 10. We can play 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8, 10, something like that.
Yep.
We got to get 7:40.
Hammer the like button. Hammer the like button. A little bit of a runny nose. So I got this head cold from being on this cruise ship. The last night of the cruise, I went to bed and I had a fever and I couldn't get enough blankets on me and I had the shakes. I'm like, oh, man. It was such a great trip. Everything was great. So I think it kicked my ass the last day. No, I tested negative for COVID. So I am not. I'm not passing COVID around. Alka-Seltzer. Got some zinc. My wife's a big believer of zinc. Right here. Take another zinc. Love
She
both.
really leading the contest. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, she is leading the
That is
contest.
so cool. Tell her I'm proud.
Yeah, we got to get more subscribers, Big D. I need to be at 10,000. I got to get from 65 to 10. I think once we get to 10, we're going to fly to 15, 20, and all that. So I need some help from everybody to get this going. And it's the off season, so it's been a little bit slow. But look at that. We got 75 people here live right now, which is really humbling for me, man. I love that. This is my tree that fell in front of my home.
Great cities are built on strong foundations. The skilled members of Laborers Local 872 never stop building. From the asphalt on our roads, the concrete in our buildings, the solar fields powering the economy, and everything in between to work safely. Laborers Local 872 is modernizing the Nevada workforce and building a global city. The future is union strong.
This spring, get ready to spice up your nights. M Resort's newest poolside dining experience is here, and it's a perfect place to unwind with friends. Featuring signature cocktails, authentic Mexican cuisine, watch parties, and more. Patio opens April 4th. Cool off with a jalapeno margarita. Indulge in a variety of house-made salsas.
Going to be Spytek talking about Gino's draft strategy. This is toward the end of the presser.
Eat, sip, watch. Patio's lively outdoor
Yeah.
atmosphere will give you your fix for bold flavors and good times. Patio at M Resort, April 4th.
Hey Chuck, what kind of collateral do I need?
Excuse me. What's going on in the chat? Tree sleeping. 10K by kickoff. That's optimistic. I appreciate that. Yeah, the Dodgers look like they can't be beat. Dodgers look good. They should look good. They bought themselves one hell of a team. Now, my Yankees have been known to buy great teams too over the past, but not at this level. That's true. The Yankees have spent a ton of money in the 70s. Dave Winfield, Strawberry. You go to, Strawberry was in the 90s, but Jeter was homegrown. Jeter was drafted and got what he deserved. Mariano Rivera came up through the system. Andy Pettit, but the Dodgers now are just ridiculous. They are spending so much money on middle relief, everything. I mean, they don't have a weakness at all. The only weakness that the Dodgers could have is if they burn out their pitching. They burn out their pitching.
They got a lot of pitching.
They got a lot of pitching. If one of their pitchers, I don't root for injuries, but what happens if, one of the pitchers, they just wear them out?
America's original craft vodka. Visit Tito'sVodka.com.
Team building standpoint, I don't think it changes our approach at all. We're deep into the evaluation of the quarterbacks in this class, and we're going to stay in that too. And we could take one anywhere. You can see. But I feel like we got a guy that can go play football now. So the need and the anxiety at that position is not as high maybe as it was a month ago.
I love that comment, John Spytek. They got a guy who can play football at quarterback. There's no anxiety about the draft because Geno Smith is the quarterback. We're brought to you by Modelo, the official cerveza of the Raiders, the official beer of fans with the fighting spirit. Modelo, rooted in the heart of Raider Nation. Man, there were a lot of Modelos on the Norwegian Bliss. Just got off that 7-night cruise, man. My buddy Thor hasn't checked in. I hope he's okay. Man, the Modelos were flowing. Quick story, they had a cigar bar. So I got to tell you this Raider. A lot of people want me to tell these Raider cruise stories. So they had a cigar lounge, a humidor lounge in the boat. You couldn't smoke cigars on the deck. You couldn't go outside your balcony and smoke cigars. And a lot of guys like to smoke cigars on a cruise. So I'd pop my head in there maybe once a day, once at night. Oh, my God. There was like 30 Raider fans in there. Every time I walked in, led by Thor, Raider Nation Drinking Club, and they're there cigars are flowing, and then the Raider alumni. So there's Lincoln Kennedy in the corner, Reggie Kinlaw is having a cigar, Kenny King. And everybody was just listening to them tell the deepest stories you could ever imagine. I mean, from Stabler to Marcus Allen to Al Davis. I mean, it was crazy. So while this was going on, I kind of had to work a little bit, do these panels, but they were initiating fans into this Raider Nation drinking club. And I put out one of the tweets on it. So I'm sitting back and I'm watching this. So you had to do a shot, 2 shots, a shot of whiskey, a shot of vodka, and then you had to slam a beer. Sounds simple, it's not. I did not partake, and I'm a member of the club at a different level. You said it's a word got out on the ship that the Raider Nation was doing this. So people were lining up to get in there. Women, young ladies, legal, of course, the age. And Bobby, they're slamming a shot of whiskey, a shot of vodka, then pounding a 12-ounce beer in under a minute. One guy did it in 10 seconds. Another guy did it in 30. So, wow, it's just like Raider fans. And then walking around this ship, every once in a while you walk around the ship and you see a guy with a Chiefs hat or an Eagles hat. Imagine going on a vacation you dreamed of your whole life, and you get on the boat and there's 420 Raider fans. Yeah. And my wife and I, at the end of the night in our cabin, if you want to call it that, we'd have the door open to hear that, and you just hear, Raiders! I'm like, oh, here we go. And that chant was going on throughout the cruise. So thanks to everybody who was a part of it. It was a lot of fun. Fabian, who's in the chat here, JT the Brick YT, he's telling the whole world, you gotta get on this trip. It was really cool to be a part of it. All right, we're gonna play a few minutes here. I want to get this John Spytek conversation in here. John Spytek's conversation with the Raiders media at the owners' meetings.
I've known Chip a long time, from going back to the Oregon days. Really, like my college teammate Jim Fisher, he was my left tackle on the punt team, and he was the left guard, I was the left tackle. And Fish was his director of player personnel at Oregon way back when he was rolling with him through the Marcus Mariota years. So, I've always admired Chip and his innovation, and we share a common thought, right? Like it's about the players you have and the way that you disperse them, and how do I get the best out of my players? And it's not scheme related. It's more player related, player focused. And I think you can kind of see that everything that he's accomplished in his career at this point. And he just always seems to be a little bit ahead of the curve, which, from the innovation standpoint was really cool. And, I'm also, his memory is amazing. I think one of the best things I do is remember where guys are from and where they went to school. And he rivals me in that too. So.
John, we haven't talked to you since the Geno Smith trade. Kind of how quickly did that sort of come about, and what does he bring to the table?
Yeah, like most things in this league, it came fast. A lot of things happened at the combine, and then it was a week later or something like that, we got the deal done. And obviously with Pete, there's a familiarity there with the player and the organization that he's coming from, and those things always kind of help speed things up. I think, since he had such a great relationship with John Schneider, and we can all kind of tell the truth in that world. And so, like I talked about the other day, we're going to look everywhere we can for a quarterback. And when Geno became available, I've always respected Geno's ability to throw it. And then with Pete, his intimate knowledge of the person and the competitor and the preparer was huge. And so it helped us get comfortable really quick. And we're looking forward to having him for, not just this year, but for the years to come. And when we get everything where it needs to be, he'll be around. And I'm confident that'll happen fairly soon.
To the draft, I know that when we talked to you at the combine, you hadn't really sunk your teeth into the class yet, but now that we're about a month away, have you gotten more just concrete thoughts about this draft class?
I'm still trying to get to the draft. We keep signing players and trading for players and all that, but this draft season really is one of my favorite times, if not my favorite time of the year, because like the team building part of it and the control that you have, it's unlike any other part of, I think, team building. And, I don't want to share all our secrets, but I think it's a pretty deep draft class overall. And I think you guys probably know some of the positions where it's pretty deep at. And, over the next 3.5 weeks here or whatever, we're just going to try to put together a great plan to manipulate it and build the team the right way. It's not necessarily about adding talent or the best player here. It's about how do we put it all together, the puzzle, and make it make sense. Years where there's deeper classes at a certain position. It makes you think like, well, if we pass on it here, maybe we can get one here. But if we pass on this one here, we'll never have a shot at it. And so that's kind of the strategy that comes up over the next, 3.5 weeks here up to the draft. It's hard to believe it's 3.5 weeks away. I'm right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks from Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh,
Putting the right
even anxiety thinking about it.
Sorry about that. Putting the right pieces together. Did that kind of drive what happened on the defensive side of the ball, especially the free agency? There were some guys that left the building, some guys that you brought in. Was that kind of part and parcel with that, finding the right pieces?
Yeah, for sure. I think free agency became defensive centric because offensively, once we signed Kappa, we had a lot of pieces in place. Especially when we traded for Gino, we kind of solidified the biggest spot there, and the O-line feels like it's in a pretty good spot right now. Obviously we've got a couple other positions to address, but then because we're pretty solid on offense, that usually means the free agents are on defense, and so free agencies, I've always learned, is wildly unpredictable, and you think you've got the market figured out, and one team pays a guy this, and it's like, well, maybe you had the market figured out, but that one team decided that, right, and so you lose guys, and whether they're your guys that you're trying to negotiate with on that first day or other teams' players, it's hard to predict where it's going to go. And I'm proud of our guys for being fluid. As we started to realize like the market at some of the positions was really robust, and some of these guys were going to end up leaving. We had to make some hard decisions that we were able to pivot with Coach Carroll and our pro scouts, and Ben and Jordan did an awesome job kind of monitoring everything, and we were able to, I think, find pretty good value at some of the spots that we lost some higher contracts to. And then the other side of that too that people really haven't talked about yet is once we started to realize what Trayvon got and what Nate got and what Spillane got, then there's the comp pick game that you start to play for the 2026 draft.
How do you deal with current debt for you guys at wide receiver? And do you feel like it's a priority to have another pass catcher?
I love how much people love receivers, and my kids are in particular. But yeah, listen, we've got a good one in Jacoby. I've always been a fan of Trey. We're looking at some other guys that are kind of still out there in free agency right now. We obviously brought in Hunter Renfrow the other day, and I think it's a pretty solid draft class too. From the top all the way through the first probably 15 guys in the draft class. Like there's some good players, and one of the things that we got really good at in Tampa is finding receivers all over the place.
That was a really good point I wanted to get to here. Just going to play a portion of that throughout the show today. I thought the best content that I've heard all week since I've been back is John Spytek. We're going to continue to put it into the show today. And what he said there is one of the things that they did really well at Tampa was finding receivers. They did. So we know Pete Carroll can develop defensive talent. Right? Let's check the box. Patrick Graham and Pete Carroll, give them players, they'll coach them up. They'll make them good. John Spytek was able to watch and develop and see receivers come in. Mike Evans, Godwin, they had a 1 and 1A. But he knows he has an eye for that. So that's part of our conversation that the insiders had who were down there, and we appreciate that. 702-365-9200. We're brought to you by Remy Martin, Team Up for Excellence. When you think of excellence in cognac, it's Remy Martin. Head and shoulders above everybody else. And the Cointreau. Can't make a margarita without it. Remy Martin, proud partner for years on this radio show. Jeff Sherman joins us next from the West Gate as we look at the moving lines.
It's the morning tailgate.
When we talk about the pro days.
Thank you. All right. Gino to Trey. Gino needs a running game. Celtics won 9 in a row?
Yeah.
Oh.
Doing all right. The only thing is they get married to that 3 sometimes, and they just will not give it up.
Here's your chance to own a luxury vehicle at a non-luxury price. Hi, this is Brennan, General Manager at Jaguar Land Rover Las Vegas. Come and see a variety of our certified pre-owned vehicles.
They got Golden Knights in Edmonton tonight.
Visit us online at JL.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah.
Home or away?
Oh,
wow.
Edmonton, that's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
It's like 12 games left in the regular season.
Watch parties and more. Patio opens April 4th. Cool off with a jalapeno margarita. Indulge in a variety of house-made salsas. Enjoy the action poolside on Medina Lights. Eat, sip, watch. Patio's lively outdoor atmosphere will give you your fix for bold flavors and good times. Patio at your resort April 4th.
All right. Yeah, my son went to Oklahoma. So I got some Oklahoma gear around the house. Yeah, I saw a little Amari Cooper internet buzz today. I don't know if it was fake or not. Look, Amari Cooper, your team is better when you have Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is not a player that's going to hurt the team. You know, Amari, a lot of times when he was here, man, he was just focused. His personality was not big with the media. We didn't get a lot of time with him at all. He was just super focused on the side. And, you know, he's a really good player. And he's still young. And he's run every route. Could he come back and play great? You know, Charles Woodson left and came back and had really productive years on the defensive side. Can Amari Cooper do that? He might be able to do it. If you get Amari Cooper at a cheap price, remember, now that the last of the free agents that haven't been tabbed yet, if you get them at a price that's coming down, and I tell you that, okay, you're going to start the season with Amari Cooper, Jacoby Myers, and Brock Bowers, and Trey Tucker, that's an upgrade. Now, it's not an upgrade from Devontae, because Devontae didn't want to be here. So Devontae's better than everybody, but he didn't want to be here. So would I like to get a rookie wide receiver in the second round who could be as good as Amari Cooper? Good luck telling me who's going to do that as a rookie if you don't take him at number 6 overall. If you want to take the wide receiver out of Arizona at number 6, I would say that he has a higher ceiling than Amari Cooper. But then you lose out on Ashton Genty. And then you got to wait to get a running back in the second round unless you trade back into the first round. A lot of this is interesting. It's chess. All right, we got Jeff Sherman. Eddie, if you got any gambling questions, I'd like to read one or two chats. If you have anything gambling related that you want to put in, let me know.
This is going to be Judge's third homer from Saturday coming back.
Yep.
It's going to be Judge's third homer from Saturday.
DesertSpringsPools.com to find out just how easy and affordable it is to have your very own backyard oasis. So there I was, trying to impress my wife by fixing the kitchen sink clogged myself. I thought, how hard can it be? I mean, I do own a plumbing company after all. 10 minutes later, water spraying everywhere. Kitchen looks like a disaster zone, and my wife's already got Gettle on the phone. Let Gettle handle your clogged drains. And while we're at it, have my guys perform our furnace rejuvenation. Keep your heating system running smoothly all winter long. Visit Gettle.com. GOETTL. Look on the drain, but it's hard to spell.
This is JT from Remote's New York style coal fire brick oven pizza that you crave. 4 locations here in the Valley, Summerlin, in Boca Park, on the Strip, at the Palazzo, Southwest Las Vegas on South Rainbow Boulevard, and Green Valley on Southeastern Avenue. Welcome back
To the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by the DeCasta Verde Law Group. If you get injured in an accident, call 702-222-9999.
That's the judge. Swung on, high fly ball. Deep center field. Going back, Mitchell on the track. Goodbye! 3-home run day for Aaron Judge. 2 more on the board for the Yankees. It's 16-4 New York in the 4th inning.
Wow. And he's not even using it. He's not even using the bat. How about that? JT, back with you. That is Yankees radio on the call. Senior VP of Risk Management over at the Westgate, Jeff Sherman, joins us every 2 weeks or every week if something big is coming up. Jeff, any discussion there in the room about the torpedo bat when it comes to run totals exceeding the numbers you thought as we open up the season?
Yeah, lots of discussion going on, and that really carried the weight over the weekend along with the college basketball. But interesting here, and we've looked at the totals, and we've seen some over support over the weekend for them. So you're seeing about a half run higher in some instances, notably like Yankee games where you have the entire team just about using the bat. So it's been responsive for the betting public going that way. And I think we'll see some further adjustments over the next week or two as more teams get involved with the bat.
It's interesting as you do your work before the season starts, you look at spring trading and then you start to see win totals are one thing. But the totals in games, you're dealing with some of the sharpest baseball bettors in the world at the Westgate. How sharp are these baseball bettors who are just looking for any advantage they can get?
Oh yeah, they especially early in the season they find that. And the one thing we learned was Stanton used this bat during the playoffs last year, and no one really even knew about it.
Yeah.
And so then the rest of the team did it at the start of this season, and that's how you can get ahead of finding things like that out, watching spring training games, and some people have.
All right, so let's go to the NCAA tournament in the Final Four with all the chalk there, all the number one seeds. How does this affect the number going forward, especially these defensive teams like Houston and Duke and Florida? That's the team I picked to win it all, but man, they had to fight and fight and fight to win their last game to get to the Final Four.
Yeah, and like you said, chalky tournament, the 4 number one seeds, and the books have not fared well at all with moneyline parlays, and that's what we've seen a majority of is moneyline parlays on the favorites. So it's been a bettor's paradise so far on the NCAA tournament. But now you have what are expected to be competitive games going in with Duke a 5-point favorite over Houston, Florida a 2.5-point favorite over Auburn.
How often does this happen? Jeff, you know the numbers. I mean, does this happen once every 4 or 5 years, once every 10 years when you see the chalk like that in the Final Four?
I think the only time it's happened is 2008.
Yeah.
Since it's been this length of a tournament as far as a 68 teams, 64 teams. So it's been quite a while, rare instances. And, part of it now we have to start taking shape with is the NIL aspect and how it's concentrated on some top teams and the teams that have more budgets to spend on it.
Jeff Sherman joins us, Senior VP, Risk Management over at the Westgate. The total in the Duke-Houston game, I want to get that from you because the defense played by Duke and Houston in a couple of these games were flat out ferocious. And I thought that Houston was a better defensive team than Duke, and now I'm kind of changing my mind. What's the total on that game, please?
Yeah, it's 136.5, and that's where we open. We haven't had any movement on it, but really low total there. If you look in relation to the Florida Auburn at 160.5, so 136.5, we expect it to be about a low-scoring battle.
160.5 to 136.5. Incredible here. And lastly, with Auburn, to be completely healthy, Cooper Flagg's completely healthy on this. Any line change until we know the status of what's going to happen with Auburn's best player?
Janai Broom is expected to play, but I think this line would have been Florida 1.5 if he was 100%. But with a little bit dinged up, with 2.5, and we're seeing a lot of Florida support. So the public is siding with the healthier Florida side.
Let's go to the Lakers. Everybody tunes in, wants to hear about the Lakers when it comes to season win totals, what they're doing with LeBron being out, now getting LeBron and Luka going as they push towards an NBA title if they have the ability to get there.
Yeah, it's a lot of fluctuation in their odds. It's between 10 and 14 to 1 over the past few weeks. We're at 12 to 1 now. It was 14 yesterday. And they look good some games and they don't some other games. And, I know they're still working through kinks and trying to get playing together and get that chemistry going. But the public is really on them. And they're our largest liability in the outrights, which is no surprise. But it's really been compounded since the Luka trade.
So I'm assuming not that much liability with Oklahoma City because most bettors didn't jump them early in the season before the game started?
Right. The odds started out low with Oklahoma City, and right now they're the favorite at plus 150. And we're not seeing too much support at that number, which is fine because they're so far power rated above everybody else in the West that it's going to be tough to beat them. And so it's a position that we want to be in.
Have you moved the number with the Celtics after they've won 9 in a row?
Yeah, they've dipped below 2 to 1. They're at plus 190 right now, but you don't see them taking over the favorite status from Oklahoma City just because the Eastern Conference path that they have to go through. A formidable Cleveland team, which Cleveland would have home court against Boston.
Absolutely. Hoping my Knicks can go on a run. Lastly, Tiger Woods had the April Fool's joke, and he made it clear he won't be playing in the Masters. This is one of your many levels of expertise. What's the handle look like it's building for the Masters here and some of the favorites at the top of the board?
Yeah, extremely solid response so far, and it would have been better with Tiger involved. There's no question about it. But right now, it's a 2-horse race at the top. Scotty Scheffler 9-2, Rory McIlroy 13-2. The next closest, Ludwig Åberg, is 14-1, and Colin Morikawa is 14-1.
Interesting. Anything with Min-Woo Lee coming off that win that he just had? Did you adjust that number?
Yeah, he went from 80-1 down to 50-1 for the Masters, and his other upcoming majors too. They took a dip from 80-1 down to 50 to 60-1 range.
I saw you post in the last 2 hours some Live Miami odds here. How are you stacking these odds with Rahm and DeChambeau and Koepka and those who are going to participate in the Masters? How hard is it to handicap those guys playing in that subpar league?
Well, I think you're going to see more of an emphasis from the top golfers this week with the Masters next week. So I've got Rahm, Joaquin Niemann a little bit lower, Bryson DeChambeau. They're the ones in single digits because I think they're really going to hone their games this week and look to get that win to carry that momentum over to next week. So the past few live events, you might have found them in double digits, but not so much this week.
Do you feel like this is Rory's best shot, period, just considering what he did at the Players to come in here and get this elephant off his back?
I do. I mean, he won the Players. He also won Pebble Beach, two signature events. And he's playing phenomenal golf. And even this past week in Texas, he started out slowly, but still finished top 10. So he's right there. And this, to me, is his best chance to win at Augusta.
Thank you, Jeff. See you out at the Westgate. Appreciate you.
Okay, thanks, JT.
Jeff Sherman over at the Westgate. If you're coming to town, go to the Westgate to place your bets. The sharpest book in the history of Vegas. And Jeff Sherman, big part of what we do here with the Masters coming up. He says it's a 2-horse race. I mean, two guys for the Masters. There's going to be some value there if you look at some of the odds going down from 40 to 1, 60 to 1. Maybe take a high flyer at the Masters here. But this is Rory McIlroy's opportunity to win. If he's going to be able to do that, it's got to be this time. I cannot see him go back and continue to go back to Augusta and not win, and especially with the momentum he has this time. That hour was great. It flew by. I had nothing to do with it. Coming up next, we'll have a mock draft expert. That's what I've been doing. Bobby and I are setting up a mock draft expert every day if we can do that. Matt Miller from ESPN will join us coming up next.
The women's collegiate basketball.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Chat, we'll keep the chat going. We'll keep this page up. Good group of people here today. I appreciate that. Yeah, the Westgate, former home of Elvis Presley. The International. You got that, Snow Raider. Snow Raider, if I was feeling a little bit better, I would have came up, took Friday off and gone skiing. Got my Tahoe trip in, but I'm just not feeling good. So I'm going to sit it out, get healthy. But, man, I hear the snow's still coming down in Tahoe, man. It'd be great to get up there, get to Heavenly, get 2 days, and have great runs there, but I just can't do it. So I'm going to miss another ski season, which disappoints me. It's because Rory doesn't wear silver and black. Yeah, crushing snow today up in Tahoe. Wow. Bobby went to have a cigarette, went to have a dart. Yes. Let's see if Adam Schefter has any breaking news. Let's see if we got anything breaking. See what Vic Tafer has to say. Vic's got all his good news. So the Lions' proposal to reseed the playoffs based on record has been tabled. That means no decision.
No purchase necessary. Must be 18 or older. Ends 4/7/25. Rules on eligibility and how to enter at raisingcanes.com/underdog challenge. One love.
Ian Rappaport. Man, all right. A bunch of people dropped off at the top of the hour. Okay, I see what's going on here.
Choose from 9 trims and 4 durable engines, including the TurboMax.
Man, Micah Parson hasn't agreed to the biggest contract in the history of the NFL for a non-quarterback.
Its advanced camera tech will make your most difficult towing jobs a whole lot easier, and your confidence even stronger. Chevy Silverado, ready to tackle whatever adventure comes next. See your Southern Nevada Chevy dealers.
Tito's homemade vodka on game day? Pour me in, coach. From a seat in the stands to the best seat on the couch, root for your favorite team with your favorite team spirit. No matter who's on your roster.
All right, let's get going here. Let me focus here. Yeah, Bobby with the dart. You got it right there. Bobby feeding the dragon. Yeah. I'm really kind of getting interested in who the Raiders are going to take with this draft pick.
When you are injured, knowing that someone has your back changes everything. Our family has spent over 3 decades fighting and pursuing justice for the injured. It's a long.
So you're up there. You had your seats. You were up there. How was it getting up to the seats?
She had a little bit of vertigo getting up in the escalator, so ended up taking the freaking elevator up.
Yeah.
As we got to the second flight, she's like, I can't do this anymore, man.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. But the lobby, did you go in via Venetian? Did you walk through the dead exhibit?
No. We came in. Get this. We were over at the Shakedown. We were over at the Tuscany.
Yeah, how was
like
that?
40, it was great. I'm going back there a couple of times. They had like 45 minutes to kill, right? We're coming out of the Tuscany. We're going to walk over. We see all these guys lined up with these fucking bicycles with the carts on the back and shit. We're like, hey, you want to ride through the Spear? Fucking hell yeah, I do. Hop in the back of that thing. I thought they were going to like drive regular traffic. Oh no. Through traffic, coming at traffic, on the sidewalk, off the sidewalk. It was fucking awesome.
Dropped you off right there, huh?
Oh yeah. Holly was fucking white knuckling the whole freaking thing, man.
Wow. So they have like a little dead pregame party at the Tuscany?
Yep. They actually have a post game over there also.
So what is it, like a ballroom or they just crank?
It's the usual shakedown kind of thing. Out back, they have all the tents with their gear and stuff. They got stage set up, food trucks selling grilled cheese, that kind of shit.
Cool. All right, dial him up.
Up and running. I'll go get him.
Best happy hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m. and midnight to 2 a.m.
It's the JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Finley Cadillac Performance Studio. Your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years. And now, here's JT the Brick.
All right, we are rolling on. Hour number 2 on the flagship of the Silver and Black, Raider Nation Radio. We got a big-time NFL mock draft guy coming up. Matt Miller will join us momentarily from ESPN. You can follow him at NFL Draft Scout. That is his Twitter feed, and he's got a lot of people following him. We'll dive into basically what I discuss here. I don't talk second, third, fourth round. It's just horrible radio. Those guys are never available in the fourth round. I don't understand these guys who do 6th-round mock drafts. The draft gets changed upside down after the 3rd pick. I like to focus on the 1st round. And then if we talk about some players that could be available in the 2nd round, that's something that I'm very interested to. So we're going to dive into that, and I'm excited because that's our focus here coming up here over the next couple of weeks. So thrilled that Matt Miller can join us. Great ESPN NFL draft analysis and insider. Matt, good to talk to you. I'll jump right in. Have you changed your opinion or evolved with the quarterbacks at the top between Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, and Shedeur Sanders?
Hey, thanks for having me on. I have not. I feel like I've probably been consistent since September on this. I think Cam Ward's the best quarterback in the draft. I think Shedeur Sanders is next, and I would put Jackson Dart in there 3rd. That one, it's been a little bit more of a process for me to come around on, but after having seen him in person one time this season, see him at the Senior Bowl, the Combine, I'm a believer in the tools that Jackson Dart has.
What has Shedeur not done for some individuals to not buy in, from his private workout to film to his composure in the pocket against the talent that he went up against? Everyone mentions he doesn't have a super high ceiling compared to Cam Ward. Is that fair?
I think it's fair on a tool standpoint. You know, it's like the traits that we break down at the quarterback position: arm strength, mobility. He's not special in those areas. I would say he's behind Cam Ward in those areas. Now, he's still good, and Shedeur has his strengths, right? I mean, he's incredible in the pocket. He's incredible in terms of toughness. He's very, very accurate. He will carve you up on intermediate passes. He has a lot of strengths to his game. There's a lot to like about him as a quarterback. Scheme is going to matter for both these guys. You know, Shedeur was able to do things at Colorado with this scheme that he's not able to do in the NFL. And that's just the nature of his dad being the head coach. He was able to kind of call his own plays at Colorado, which does speak to his football IQ and how well prepared he'll be for the next level. But it's definitely going to be a little bit of an adjustment, I think.
Matt Miller's our guest. So Shedeur Sanders potentially going number 2 to Cleveland, considering Cleveland, just the disaster that Jimmy Haslam has admitted to at the owners' meetings with Deshaun Watson. If you look at the situation, it didn't work out with Watson. He's suffering through the injury. Can you imagine if Cleveland, who's been snake bit in their entire modern era at the quarterback position, passes on Shedeur, and Shedeur ends up being a star?
It's going to be tough, and that's the hard thing about the NFL draft. And it's the same way. What if you take a quarterback again? What if you, and by all accounts, it would be a reach. No one has him graded as the number 2 overall player in this class. So if you reach on the quarterback and it's another bust, then what happens, right? So it is difficult, and that's why they are put in those positions to make those decisions. And I think the next 24 days, 23 days, it's very, very important that you find some conviction on that position more than any other. You have to spend time with the player. You have to understand your own locker room. You know, you're evaluating the quarterback against what you already had. You're evaluating them against even your opinion of next year's quarterback class. So more than any other position, so much time and energy goes into it. And it's why these coaches and general managers pay a lot of money is to make that call.
Matt Miller's our guest from ESPN. So let me ask you, who do you have graded higher, two different positions, Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter?
I have Abdul Carter graded higher. He's a top player in this draft. They're very, very close. And they're both very special players. But if they're both on the board and you got to pick one, I'd take Abdul Carter.
So the fit with Myles Garrett would make sense. You'd have two superstars, both opposite each other, and Cleveland can go all defense and figure out the quarterback situation. But if Abdul Carter's available at number 3 for the Giants because they got Jameis and Russell Wilson, man, that could really add to the Giants, who love the legacy of Lawrence Taylor and the linebackers and rushers who played for that franchise.
Oh, absolutely. I can't imagine that he would get by the Patriots at 4. I think Mike Vrabel would do a handstand if Abdul Carter was there for him. But he improves every team. And even we can even say the Titans. You know, they trade Harold Landry to the Patriots. They need a premier pass rusher. The Browns, if you could take a strength and turn it into a dominant force with Carter and Myles Garrett, and like you said, hey, we're going to run the ball, we're going to play good defense, we'll probably add Kirk Cousins at quarterback, and we're going to roll with that, right? And then if you're the Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau's been good as a young player. You have Dexter Lawrence, who's obviously a star. That is a very good way to build your team. And they have Russell Wilson, as you mentioned. They have a guy who can win you 8 or 9 games at the quarterback position. So with Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, you throw Abdul Carter in there with Dexter Lawrence, that is a fierce group up front.
Man, you nailed that. The Giants would be ferocious in regards to their defensive penetration if they had Carter. With Travis Hunter, what do you think is the ideal place for him to go? He had 96 receptions. We know him as a wide receiver, but as a cornerback 1, do you have him as a rookie cornerback 1 or cornerback 2?
Yeah, I think the ideal spot for him is anywhere. I mean, Cleveland would be great for him. I think the Giants would be great for him. I personally view him as a better receiver than corner. And I would say that, and it depends, right? Like what team he goes to. Let's say he goes somewhere like Cleveland, where they said they view him as a receiver first. I still think there's an opportunity to play him at corner as a slot corner, as an inside guy, where you say, hey, 15, 20 times a game, we need you to just go play man coverage against this guy. Can you just go lock him up? You know, can you lock up George Pickens for us, or can you lock up T. Higgins a little bit? I think that's the ideal role for him if it's a team like the Cleveland Browns. There's other spots, you know, if it's the Giants, maybe he plays corner primarily and you sprinkle him in at wide receiver. Maybe he plays 15 snaps a game at receiver instead. So it's going to vary team by team. I mean, I applaud the conditioning that he had to play as much as he did last year. A guy who clearly just loves football to play as much as he did. It speaks to his, you know, mental ability, his love of the game, his work ethic. I mean, he's fantastic. We've never seen someone try to do what he's trying to do. So I hope we get the opportunity to see him try to play both.
Matt Miller joins us, ESPN NFL draft analyst and insider. So I'm in Vegas, where the Raiders were dead last in rushing, and Ashton Genty should be there at number 6. Do you feel like that's a must pick for the Raiders to get Geno Smith and the running game going with the addition of Brock Bowers last year?
It makes sense, right, with Pete Carroll, but also with Chip Kelly. When people think of Chip Kelly, I think everybody thinks of like the spread option and stuff that he was doing back in the day. But he wants to run the ball. We saw it at Ohio State last year. So I do look at that as like, man, that's a really natural fit for them. But I also look at that wide receiver room. They need some help. Jacoby Myers is their best receiver. Right now, the other 2 starters are Trey Tucker and Ramel Keaton. And I bet a lot of people listening to us talk right now don't know who Ramel Keaton is. They might not know who Trey Tucker is. So wide receiver is still a big need for the Raiders. So that's going to be a fun evaluation for them of trying to decide, do you go best player available, which I think would be Ashton Genty, or do you say, hey, wide receivers are making $30 million a year now. It's a premium position. You can win if you can get one on a rookie contract. Let's go get a receiver like a Tedoroa McMillan, Matthew Golden, Luther Burden, where it would be a little bit of a reach, but still such a big need for this team.
Well, let's stay with Ted McMillan. Why would he be a reach? It's tough for a rookie to come in and dominate. You know, Randy Moss can do it. Others can do it with that type of height and talent here. But his comp is interesting here because if he can be that guy in the red zone, that could be a massive target and demand the double team and still catch the ball at the point of attack. That's an impressive player.
Yeah, he's an interesting study because, like you said, he's 6'4", 215 pounds. He looks the part, but he's short-armed. That's something that stood out. And he had 6 drops last year. And what shows up to me on tape, it's a guy who he's really, really good at contested catches, but he's almost always in a contested catch situation. So that tells me maybe not great at running away from coverage. Is he going to be able to get open in the NFL? I see a little bit of the Drake London, but I also see a guy that there are times where he just really struggles to break away from coverage. Is he going to be able to do that in the NFL? I thought his 23 tape was better than 24. I thought he showed a little bit more quickness, a little more wiggle last year. But, I'm a fan of his. He's my number 18 overall player. I don't see him as a guy at 6 that would be a great value.
Okay, not a great value at number 6. We're wrapping it up with Matt Miller. So, Jalen Walker, the linebacker, the edge out of Georgia, who's the comp there? Could he just come in and be a wrecking ball, a sideline-to-sideline guy who can maybe play in coverage or attack the quarterback? What do you see with him?
I think the idea is you want to use him a lot like Micah Parsons.
Right.
And Micah, his first year, played as a linebacker and as an edge. I think the comp is someone more like Hassan Reddick or Harold Landry, a little bit undersized, a little bit short, but just a ferocious pass rusher. Watch Jalen Walker's 2 games against Texas and tell me he shouldn't be rushing the passer full time because there's so much more value in that than there is as a stack linebacker. So I'm a huge, huge fan of his. He just turned 21 years old. Football characters through the roof. That's the type of player that you want as a building block on your defense. He's my number 5 overall guy for this draft. He is a special player. So I don't imagine a scenario he gets out of the top 11 picks. And if I were a team, I'd be finding ways to utilize him as an edge rusher first and foremost.
Who do you have ranked as your highest offensive lineman? Can't miss, plug and play starter day one.
So I still have a Kelvin Banks from Texas. I think he's being over-evaluated. Again, I've referenced the Georgia game. Jalen Walker got him one time. The only sack he gave up in 2024, he gave up 1 sack in 23, 1 sack in 22. Doing that for 3 years at Texas where you're playing great defensive players, it seems like every week, especially when they got into the SEC this past year and you're playing teams like Michigan on out of conference. I still think Kelvin Banks is the guy.
All right, last one, because we're just hearing this throughout this business of mock drafts. Everybody's saying it's so deep at running back. How deep in your perspective? I'm talking about you can get a really good running back in the 3rd round, or you better get him in the 2nd round because there's going to be a run on him early.
Oh, no, you could get a good running back in the 4th or 5th round this year.
Okay.
I think we will see a record for how many running backs actually get drafted, which is 30. We're going to be right there at that number. But I'm looking at my board right now. Round 4, round 5, you're getting a starting level running back. You're looking at Cam Scadaboo, Ollie Gordon, DJ Giddens. There's good players that are going to be there in round 4.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Appreciate it. Always respect your work. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right, Matt Miller from ESPN. Good to have him here as the draft analyst. So the big ones I wanted to get in with him there. He thinks that taking Ted McMillan at number 6 is too high for the Raiders for a premier number 1 wide receiver. That's just his opinion. So he thinks the value is too high. But if the Raiders need a number 1 wide receiver, who cares what his value is? If the Raiders got him at number 6 or 18, you get 1 pick in the 1st round. You got to get the best player with the best need for the team. And what we're trying to figure out through Raider Nation, and you can chime in on this, 702-365-9200. Bobby plugged the phones back in. They weren't plugged in, so he plugged them back in so you can get in here. Is your priority wide receiver or running back? I am going to beat that drum until the cover comes off. That's my number 1 hook to you. I am not doing a massive mock draft. I don't care who the Eagles take. I could care less who New Orleans takes. I care about the Raiders on the Raiders flagship station. Everybody can do their own separate show on anything they want to do. I'm caring about the Raider picks. And to me, the way I've been doing this close to 30 years, I think is the right way. Need. Each round, what's the need? Then you could look, you could have a guy like John Spytek who says, no matter who's there, I'm taking the best player. I don't care if he's a quarterback, if he's an offensive lineman, if the best player on my board is there, I'm taking him. But I would suggest you do that after the 1st round. Oh, yeah. The 1st round, you got to make up your mind if you're going running back or wide receiver. Because if the Raiders nail it and get a wide receiver who can start, Ted McMillan or Ashton Genty, now that position is nailed down. Nailed down. Now remember, old regime. Now we have a new one. Why did we take Tyree Wilson? Why? Because they thought he was the best freak of an athlete there at number 7. And he was injured. He was injured. And, they decided that they were going to take him. Not the end of the world. It turns out that pick was not a good pick at this stage. We're waiting for Tyree Wilson to explode onto the scene. And we've been waiting quite some time for this. So if I'm Pete Carroll and John Spytek, I look at Tyree Wilson and say, look, perfect timing for us to take over the team. We're going to try to get something more out of him from Pete Carroll. But we know Antonio Pierce tried. Antonio Pierce tried really hard with his staff to get Tyree Wilson going. So I just want to know what you think about needs over the next couple of weeks, because we got about 3 weeks of shows, maybe a little bit less on the NFL draft. And my whole goal is to get Raider fans worked up, number one, excited. That's what we do here. And number two, get them to pinpoint who the pick's going to be. Pretty simple. Murph in Buffalo. Thanks for calling in. Murph, what's happening?
Hey, JT. Hey, I guess I said before, I really like that Genty. I got a question for you. With as just mentioned, the running backs being so deep this year, how much better do the analysts have Genty than these other guys? Real quick though, March Madness. Wow, what a tournament already! I'm gonna say Duke is unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Their average height 6'8". I heard this past, and I just shake my head about it. I love the matchup against Houston with the defense. I think it's totally up in the air, buddy. I'm rooting for you with Florida, but I'm kind of rooting for Auburn. I really think that Broom is the man.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to that question, sir.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be trying to figure out here. Thanks for the call. Coming up here in the next couple of weeks is the issue is how deep is this running back class? And if the Raiders don't take Genty, how fortunate will they be to get a running back early that's going to be available still? And that is one of the most juicy topics that we have in Raider Nation. Because Hampton, the running back out of North Carolina, is rated right behind Genty. I'm looking at CBS Sports. They have Genty as the 10th player available, 10th overall best. Then Amari and Hampton at 39. Then you have the Ohio State running backs, Junkins and Henderson. They're going to come off the board. But when are they going to come off the board? Early in the second round, late in the first round? It's a massive priority for the Raiders to get a running back. Don't get cute with it. Just go get the guy you want. I would assume it's going to be Ashton Genty because he's right there at 6. You can get Ashton Genty at 6. If you want him, you can get him. And then you move on and wish the next team good luck. We're good. We'll see you in the second round. Or you can let Genty go, get the wide receiver, and then trade back into the first round with the Raiders have the ability to do that and go get one of the 2 Ohio State running backs who are familiar with Chip Kelly. That's it. That's the way I see it. If I'm missing something, let me know. And then there's other really good running backs, as Matt Miller just said. But what I find fascinating and what gets me going every year as fans, and I'm a fan, I'm just a fan behind the microphone, is I want to get starters. I lose my mind when people say we're going to draft a guy and develop him in the first round. No. Of course you're going to develop him. You're an NFL team. You got professional coaches who get paid to develop players. Okay, you draft a guy, he starts. You draft a guy, you play him. That's what frustrated me the most about Michael Mayer. The Raiders traded up and made him the first pick in the second round. They loved Michael Mayer. Well, they got Michael Mayer and didn't use him. They didn't use him. And then fortunately, we got Brock Bowers. He fell to number 13. We get an all-time record breaker as a rookie tight end. And now you're sitting here with Michael Mayer going, wow, we like Mike a lot, but we never get him the ball. How great would it be for Michael Mayer to come back 100% in his personal life, highly motivated? Maybe the organization, I don't know if John Spytek wants to keep him or not. He mentioned him in the Scrum interview. And Michael Mayer comes in and has an outstanding year. That seems like another player that the former regime didn't get anything out of, didn't get much out of, that maybe a new coaching staff can get a lot out of. It's pretty simple stuff. It's amazing what new coaching can do. The other coaches were fine. Antonio Pierce got a lot out of these players, a lot. They ran through walls for him. He has nothing to be ashamed of. He coached his ass off. We have a different style of coach now. Maybe the way he talks to the players, he trains the players, competes with them, backs off, lets them get treatment, days off. I don't know. But if you can get Michael Mayer and Bowers and Trey Tucker, and then you get Ted McMillan as the number 1 wide receiver with Jacoby, and then you get the Ohio State, one of the 2 Ohio State running backs like Junkins or Henderson in the second round, We got a starting offense we can talk about around here for once. You know, in all due respect to Aiden O'Connell, who we love, but you got a starter in Gino, and then you got a starting rookie running back. You got a second-year elite tight end. You got a third-year potential elite tight end. You got a 1,000-yard reception guy in Jacoby. Team looks pretty good. Kelvin in San Francisco, California. Hello, Kelvin.
Hey, JT, thanks for the call. Your caller that just called in, the analyst, that's the first person I've heard speak so highly of Jalen Walker. Man, that's my pick. It doesn't make any sense. I like Genty, but with the running back class being so loaded, it makes no sense to me why you would draft a running back.
Well, why would you say that? What if the running back turns out to be Adrian Peterson? What if the running back turns out to be an elite superstar that dominates this league and we let him go?
Well, how many Super Bowls did Adrian Peterson win? How good were we when Josh Jacobs was the leading rusher? You have to build. Here's my case for Walker. Okay, first of all, I do think we need to address the running back room, but I would draft back-to-back running backs. I would get two of them. I'd get one in the second round and the third round, or the third round.
So you would throw out with the bathwater, as they said, Zamir White, who was pretty good at Georgia, played at Georgia. He didn't play behind a great offensive line. You just say, hey, you're one and done. We're out of here.
Yeah, we've seen enough. Sorry,
wow. Wow.
So what can you do for me, league?
So you can't put him in as the second running back to the new rookie and let Zamir White compete under Pete Carroll and see if he can get his job back?
No, we have a new regime. He had his chance. Jalen Walker at the sixth pick, who's, in my opinion, going to be the next Micah Parsons, instantly makes this defense one of the best defenses in the NFL.
I agree. I like his style of play. I like his ability to just be the linebacker that we haven't had. We haven't had forever. I agree with you on that. I like that pick too. If they took him, I would put my arm in the air on stage at the draft party. I'd be happy with him because I've been desperately looking for a linebacker. But Raiders just picked up two linebackers that they feel pretty confident can play.
Yeah, but this linebacker is, he's young. He's going to be homegrown since we drafted him. We're going to have him for the next, hopefully we resign him after his first contract.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are on the back end of their career. This guy we could have for, 10, 12 plus years. Plus he's an every down player as opposed to a running back where, he's on this in passing plays. He's, Genty isn't I know he can catch out in the backfield, but he's 5'8". He's reportedly the only weakness. He's not the best pass blocker. So I just think for value wise, get a game changer defender.
Okay.
And we get younger on the defensive side of the ball, and we're strengthening up our strength. I honestly think we will have the best defense in the league if we can get Williams.
You're not wrong. Appreciate the call. I love that phone call. That's what I'm trying to accomplish here is get people who are really diving in to what the roster looks at. We all know, all of us combined, John Spytek's making these decisions with Pete Carroll, Tom Brady, the entire scouts and staff. But we're doing a radio show, and we're trying to come up with some concepts. And what you've seen in the past, this is an organization now that's looking towards the future. Let me make that very clear. This group is looking towards the future. A lot of us look at the past. I love the past, the history of the Raiders. This group is coming in here completely focused on getting this team back on track to win multiple championships over the next decade. This draft is going to be critical. Not because Pete Carroll's 73 and is going to be 74. It's because Pete wants to win now. Pete's never going to show up to a game and say, hey, it's okay, we lost a close one, but next year we're going to be better. The Raiders are going to be competitive and fiercely competitive as any team in the league. They might not be better than any team, all those teams, but they'll be just as competitive. Thanks to the Bricklayers on YouTube. Remember, you can watch the show. You can see all the additional content, and we're going to start giving away a lot of cool prizes. Please sign up for free at JT the Brick YT. Appreciate you doing that. We're brought to you by La Casa Cigars and Lounge. Mike has the best cigar lounge at Tivoli Village. Live music 7 nights a week at La Casa. Yep. Thanks, everyone. I am out of here. Good group today. Really, the quality of everybody in here, exceptional. Please try to bring one more friend into this YouTube channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. A live show tonight, 7 to 10 on Sirius XM, Channel 82.